Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just absolutely cooked Senator Mitch McConnell because he's been actively working to undermine the America First MAGA movement. Because, folks, when we're talking about rhinos, Republicans in name only, we're talking about guys like Mitch McConnell, really at this point, traitors to the Republican Party. Now, as I'm sure many of you all know, over the last 2 weeks, Senator Mitch McConnell has voted against multiple of Trump's cabinet picks, including Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and he's actually promising to vote against Kash Patel in the next couple days. So pretty much Mitch McConnell has done everything he possibly can to kneecap Trump's transition back into the White House. But okay, so just earlier today, Senator McConnell voted against Trump's pick for Health Secretary RFK Jr. Let's hear why.
One very significant defection here in the United States Senate. That was Republican Mitch MCConnell, the former GOP leader, someone who just put out a scathing statement about RFK Jr.'s views about the issue of vaccine. I'm going to read you part of it, Pamela. He said that he noted that he's a childhood survivor of polio, and he talked about how vaccines have saved millions of lives around the world. He said that he will not condone the relitigation of proven cures, and neither will millions of Americans. He goes on to say that referring to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a record of trafficking in dangerous conspiracy theories and eroding trust in public health institutions does not entitle Mr. Kennedy to lead these important efforts, referring to efforts to try to treat illnesses and disease. He goes on to talk about the efforts to try to deliver on vaccines. He says Mr. Kennedy failed to prove he is the best possible person to lead America's largest health agency.
So Mitch McConnell didn't vote for RFK Jr. because he's worried about eroding trust in our public health organizations? Listen, guys, I don't want to get too much into all of this, but as I'm sure many of you remember, there was a pretty recent event, a pandemic of sorts, that pretty much eroded all of the trust in our public health organizations already, so I personally wouldn't be too worried about RFK Jr. In fact, between you and me, I think our public health organizations could probably use a little bit of scrutiny and oversight. But hey, that's just my opinion. But okay, now I want you guys to take a look at what President Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, had to say about all of this.
I think we're greatly disappointed in any Republican who chooses willfully to vote against the president's exceptionally qualified cabinet nominees and picks to lead his America First administration. Not a single Democrat swayed from voting against President Biden's nominees, and we know how many of them turned out. They turned out to be atrocious at their jobs, leaving America much worse than they were when they took the oath of office. And so I've said it repeatedly from this podium. I addressed it at the beginning of my remarks. We expect all Republicans to vote, to stay tough and strong, vote for President Trump's nominees so we can get to work and continue to work very hard to implement this president's agenda.
There you have it. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, to me it seems painfully obvious that Mitch McConnell is letting his own personal grudges, his own personal vendettas get in the way of not just supporting his fellow Republicans, but also, more importantly, doing what's best for the United States of America. As I'm sure many of you know, the Republican Party has changed a lot over the last 10 years. Before Trump came down that escalator in 2015 to announce his presidential campaign, the Republican Party was dominated by these rhinos, Republicans in name only. Some other people call them neocons. These are your McCains, your Romneys, your Cheneys, and your McConnells. And so, like I said, over the last 10 years, Donald Trump has pretty much rebuilt the Republican Party from the ground up upon the foundation of Make America Great Again and America First. And so what seems to be the case is that Senator Mitch McConnell isn't so happy about that. He's sort of refused to get with the times. But okay, now I want you guys to listen to President Trump's absolutely scathing review of Senator Mitch McConnell from just earlier today. But hey, real quick, before we do that, I want to say if you guys enjoy the news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, so let's take a look at what President Trump had to say about all of this.
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch, and I was one of the people that led. He wanted to go to the end, and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, and that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators, and so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 20, 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money, take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He, was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did
You
have
think that
polio,
was easy?
and
What?
He had polio, obviously, and his
I don't
decided
know.
that
I don't know
was-
anything about he had polio. He had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy, and we have a very strong party, and he's almost not even really a very powerful member. I'd say he's not a. He's lost his power, and it's affected his vote. And it's one of those things. But in the meantime, Bobby did great, got more votes than anybody thought, and I think he's going to do phenomenally, just phenomenally in that position. And everybody else likewise did well. Not only well, they got more votes than anybody thought.
So folks, there you have it. President Trump pretty much just destroyed Mitch MCConnell. And now I'll tell you guys what, to me this entire situation is just kind of sad. Mitch MCConnell is a guy who's been in Congress since 1985. That's 40 years. He's currently 82 years old, and he's so desperately clung on to his political power that now, while he's still in office, he's barely able to walk or talk or even think at all. In fact, I was actually considering playing some of the videos of him falling over or freezing up on stage, but between you and me, I really just don't feel right picking on an old man like that. In my opinion, he should be at home sitting on his front porch, sipping a lemonade, watching his grandkids run around on the front lawn having fun, but instead, he's just so addicted to maintaining what little power he has left, he's got to get rolled through the Capitol chambers in a wheelchair. In fact, take a look at what one young Kentucky woman had to say about all of this.
I'm from Kentucky, and I've got to say Mitch MCConnell's no vote on Tulsi Gabbard's nomination is a disgrace. This isn't about what's best for the country. It's about clinging to the same old political games. Tulsi has served this nation with honor, and Kentuckians respect that. Mitch? He's more interested in protecting the swamp than representing the people who put him in office. This vote doesn't reflect Kentucky values at all. It reflects his own self-interest, and we see right through it.
There you have it. And hey, do you guys even disagree with her? Because that all seems pretty true to me. In a weird way, Mitch MCConnell sort of represents the lone survivor of a bygone era. The Republican Party has very clearly moved on without him, and he's the only one who chose not to move along with it. But hey guys, I think that's going to be a wrap for this video, so please go down below in the comments and let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there if you liked the video. Like I said earlier, please consider subscribing because it does really help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and of course, as always, stay safe.